Welcome to In the Know with Steph and Joe. So obviously everybody noticed that Joe is off today.
It's off everything.
A little bit off. Just a little bit off.
So we acquired a panel to replace Joe with all of the talking that he does. So it takes 3 people to replace him.
I'm just kidding.
So today we're going to be talking safety, whether it's on job, safety in your home, safety protocols within your industry, things that you do because you have a weird fear of being kidnapped.
Why'd you look at me?
Because I was expecting you to make like a comment about it.
No.
But so anyway, so why don't we go around the table? Everybody kind of introduce themselves, and then we'll kind of get into the topic. So
We'll let you
Want me to
start.
start?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're the newbie.
Eric Blauser with Home Fire Safety Solutions. I do residential smoke and carbon monoxide detection. Thank you. Carbon monoxide detectors. Install fire extinguishers with some basic training, and I also do dryer vent cleaning. So I'm a certified dryer vent technician through the CSI organization out of Indiana. It's the only nationally recognized agency to get accredited to be a dryer vent technician for cleaning. So
I know. Literally, I just was saying, do you have a card?
I already forwarded you his
I
information.
need that now. Thank you. Before you leave?
Yeah.
Because you'll schedule mine first. Sorry, kids.
See, they're already fighting over you. I told
Oh,
you. I
yes.
took care of you.
Twofer?
Well, twofer. All right. I am Christine Restoration 1. I cannot overpower Joe, so I'm just going to do the best I can to make him proud of me today.
I'm sorry. I am Dawn Bremer with the Bremer team. Really?
That should have been mine.
Okay. You should have had a serial killer theme song because you can clean a scene. Apparently, I go to the bathroom a lot. So it's Dawn with the Bremer team with Keller Williams' success. I'm not sure why I'm here for this abuse because I love Steph.
and she's also one of the co-hosts for Anything Goes.
Oh,
with
anything goes with Bremer and Jones. Coming back.
I'm back.
So thanks.
All right, so everybody knows me, Steph, with Steph's Books. Kent
in
doesn't
charge
have
of
a
this?
microphone today, so he is on his next level thing with his sound effects. I could already tell this is going to be a wild show.
Gosh.
So anywho, so I wanted to kind of talk safety, and I know that everybody's industry has different standards, different expectations, and things that they do to not only protect themselves while they're out on the job, but also that protects their staff while they're working. And I just feel like those protocols are usually a good thing to cover, because I recently had an experience where I went on a job and I put my address in the calendar, but it really serves no purpose because it's a shared calendar only with Rich, and he doesn't answer his phone anyways. So Rich is my husband, in case, so he doesn't answer his phone. So if I got kidnapped at a job, like, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
So, so I went to a job. I thought I was going to a business, which it looked like a business from the outside.
I know this story.
And then when I went inside, we had to go up a level to look at their books and whatever, but I wasn't prepared because they also live inside the house. They live inside their business. So their house is on the second floor of their business. So I essentially was going into someone's home in kind of like their bedroom. So
Yeah, because that was
so that was just kind
what
of
I said to
Was
her
it
is,
dirty?
who actually goes upstairs to the bedroom without running?
Like,
What is the problem?
well, I was already there. I was just going to close the deal. Okay. Like, I was already there.
I was like, what? What was the first
Oh my
flag?
gosh.
Was when they didn't have a kitchen table? I don't understand.
Well, so, and then another time recently, I went into the city, like in downtown city, and I went to an apartment building because they operate out of their home again. And I'm like, I don't know. The apartment thing is a little sketchy. It's a little different than a house. So I'm like, I don't know. Let's meet at a Starbucks. And they're like, no, we have a conference room that we could rent inside the apartment building. Cause it was like a really fancy one. So we did that, and I went to the city by myself.
We should have protection for you. Like we should be on call here for protection for you.
Seriously.
Well, I think
That's
I'm gonna get a
crazy.
taser. I think that's what I want to get.
Really?
Pepper spray.
Pepper spray.
Pepper spray.
What
No,
about the
because
realtors?
it's gonna branch out.
What are those
I'd rather-
spikes things that we hand out for like the
You know?
Could be faster. Could be easier. I mean, how are you
like
going to carry
baton
the
things
taser?
for like on your keychains? We
I
give
don't
them out to all the realtors.
I don't have one.
We'll have to get
You
you
should have
one.
a small
Oh,
thing of-
somebody
I'm a little upset.
who are my realtors listening? What are those
I can get her
things
one.
that what the baton things?
What are you
Oh.
talking about?
It's oh my gosh, they're
Looks
so
like an icicle.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
I don't have one
I've
of
seen those on TikTok before.
Maybe
Yeah.
I do have a
It's a
team.
taser?
Maybe my team could have some extra protection.
I will sense.
But
I
so-
have access to that stuff. I will get you those.
Thank
But so
you.
clearly, I put myself in dangerous situations with being
Clearly.
5'1" and a woman and going by myself
Yeah.
to all these places. I mean, thankfully, knock on wood, nothing's ever really happened,
Yet.
so it's
But
fine.
We should
but-
start with you telling somebody other than Rich where you are going.
I tell my mom.
Okay, she's in a different state.
I
How about somebody in the state?
mean, my staff knows where I'm at.
Did they have anybody else's phone number?
No.
Because the next
Well,
person they're
technically,
gonna
they have
call-
Christine's phone number
well,
because
then they
I
can
work with
clean
them.
the scene.
Yeah.
I mean,
so-
I'll bring the cement guy if you take care of it. All I'm saying. Cement guys.
But so I guess the one thing that I do that is a safety thing that I've incorporated into my day-to-day life is after a meeting, usually, I don't know how it is for you guys, but there's a bajillion text messages and emails that come through while you're in your meeting.
Always.
So you kind of sit in your car for a minute and respond. So I always make sure that when I get in my car, I lock the door before I start sticking my face into my phone and start responding to emails and text messages, because it's so easy for someone you're like completely oblivious to anything around you at that point,
Yes.
for them just to come and open your door.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I do that
So-
too because I write notes a lot. Because my big thing is knowing and remembering everything that happened in the meeting and my follow-up dates. So let's say, we're talking and I was going to contact you on Monday because I knew you're going for your class for the ear duct thing.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up date to call you on Monday to see, hey, how did it go? But I write these things constantly after a meeting so I can remember all my notes and then flip to my next page. However, I don't lock the door. So now I got to remember to lock the door. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Sorry. Someone responded and said they're having trouble hearing us. So I don't know if it's user error or if it's okay. Because it was very loud on Christine's phone a minute ago. But yeah, sorry. But yeah. Yeah. So I guess the things that I do is, I let my staff know, I lock my door while I'm responding to emails. But what is something, Dawn, that you guys do that's industry specific to realtors? Do you?
Well, we do a couple of things. We have we have the Life 360. So the Life 360 is an app you can download and I have that on all of my agents. They have that. And people are like, why do you need to track where your agents are? Well, a couple of different reasons. One, realtors are very vulnerable in this industry because you're going into people's houses that you don't know, or you're meeting people you don't know who call you in a vacant building or a vacant home. And we've all seen the Dateline and the 48 Hours episodes that realtors are a huge target, right?
are.
People think they have tons of money and they're vulnerable to be left, because I don't know many other industries that meet people in abandoned homes or vacant homes and stuff like that. So
It's kind of
we
a scary
started off,
thought.
it is. So we started off by putting Life 360 in people's phones so that when they are going to meet somebody, we all know when they got to the property and we know if they're leaving or it's still there 3 hours later. So that's one of the things that we do. The other thing that we have is the wonderful boards that we're a part of, Heartland and Main Street organization. They both offer a program called Forewarn, which is free to realtors. And that is a program where you download on your phone and you can put in somebody's phone number and it will tell you who they are, what kind of cars they drive, where they live. They have criminal records. I put somebody in yesterday who wanted us to go look at an abandoned house. And just in August of 2020, he had forcible restraints. He had battery charges. We're not going. Like, we'll go in a group or we'll send one of the, larger agents, the men on my team there. But it's a safety
Yeah.
features. So we definitely use those. Those are really
Thank you,
important.
Derek, for letting us know you can hear us. Hi, Derek.
How do you see that?
Because I'm Superwoman.
Seriously, I have super eyes. I just paid $22,000 and I can't see anything. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Now everybody can see that. So those are some of the things that we do that it's really important to have that safety so that we know. We also, if I go to a place, like for instance, if I pull in and everything looks good on the forewarn and people can see me and I see that the house seems to be a little maybe sketchy, I will call one of my agents and say, call me in 10 minutes. And if I don't answer, then you swing by.
Yeah.
And I assume all of the agents are kind of on board with helping each other out, or kind of, hey, you're kind of in a sketchy situation or somewhere, not feeling great about it, that other people will come and be a second person.
And I hate to say it. I mean, I'll be honest. If it's a gentleman that calls and wants to set up a listing appointment and I don't see that they have a spouse or in the records, or I usually do bring somebody with. You just never know.
Yeah.
We just never know. We always also pull to make sure that the person that is calling us to look at their house is actually the owner of the house. So there's a lot of times that is not sure who's really you're meeting at the house. So you want to make sure that is the person. So
when you set up something.
Hi, Mr. Campbell. Michael. Okay.
Hi.
Linda can hear us. All
Oh,
right.
she must have fixed it. Hi, Mom.
Turned up the volume.
They're at the doctor's appointment, so.
Oh.
Hi,
Hi,
Mom.
Linda.
But yeah, so Christine, what's something that you guys do as for safety for your team, since you guys kind of go into risky situations because people's houses have either just got put out from being on fire or they're flooded or something's happening.
Yes. So safety third, as Joe always says.
Safety third.
Safety
for
third.
you guys.
Yes. Why? Because number one, documentation. Before we're going in or doing anything, documentation. I need it. Fire department needs it. Adjusters need it. Our clients need it. Documentation, number one. Number two is clients. Safety. Keeping the client safe away from the situation, getting them to a safe location, and making sure they're having their needs taken care of. Then my guys go in, and my guys know safety. So that's why we always say safety third, but they're always thinking safety. Our guys are been with us for a long time. They're very, very great at what they're doing. But the minute they're going in, documentation. And that sets the course for the whole entire job that they're doing. Now, I was bringing this up earlier, like, let's say you guys have a flood in your basement, right? Pipes exploding. It's crazy. Water is everywhere. You're hearing it gushing, and you look downstairs and your whole basement's full of water and you want to go turn it off, right? What about the electric, guys? I mean, that could be a really nice swim, right?
Shocking.
Nice.
Very shocking. Very shocking. So those are the things that people aren't aware of. They want to go ahead and rectify the situation right away by turning that water off and doing, but there are ways that you could get majorly hurt or dead from doing things like that. Or if your house is on fire or your neighbor's house and you want to save the world because you feel like, a strong man that day, leave that to the professionals. They're trained to do that. Also, you don't know what's structurally sound about that building. So you can walk in and it could all fall on your face. That sounds okay.
I can't see.
What did Mike say?
Long time,
Long time,
listen.
no
Larger.
listen. Good topic and great to see you all. Safety also comes with good lending. It's safe to use Cross Country Mortgage and the Lamont Campbell team.
Well, look at that.
This ensures you close. Way to plug, Mike. Way to plug.
Way to plug, Michael. Yes.
Send your check to
Yeah.
Steph and Joe.
Yes. So there's a lot of situations that we run into on a daily basis that have to do with safety. OSHA, we obviously have to be OSHA compliant, which, OSHA's not very friendly, especially if you upset them. So we never want to upset OSHA. So we have an OSHA manager. He makes sure everything is in line, everything is where it needs to be. We're doing things the right way. So a lot of construction companies don't have that OSHA manager to make sure that everything is going. So then our project managers, they're all trained specifically that they're in charge of the guy that they're with, because they don't go alone. Nobody goes alone. We go in twos. Everybody has a buddy. I learned that. So I'm also on the Huntley emergency response team. So
What do you two ladies not do? They in there and everything.
Right?
What? What are you
so
talking about?
so it's a CERT program, which I
It's 'cause
encourage
we're
people to
single
get
and we have no
involved.
life.
True. Yes. Yes. We got each other.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you guys have CERT programs in your neighborhood, look into them. I mean, this is a good way to get involved, but also get trained through FEMA. So
And then Eric, something that I learned, I guess you're supposed to like dust your smoke detectors.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that.
So there is kind of a maintenance that comes along with them. For most people, smoke detectors are an out of sight, out of mind thing. They don't really know that they're there
Until
unless
2
they
o'clock in the morning.
until 2 o'clock in the morning.
When it chirps.
And one of the reasons, and I get this question asked all the time, is why do my detectors go off at 2 o'clock in the morning? I get that all the time. And the reason is, there is a reason, is because over time, dust, spider webs, air particulates collect inside of our smoke detectors. And our house temperatures are the coolest between 1 and 4 a.m. And so when that happens, when the temperature in our homes drop, so does the dust and debris that's in those detectors. And so when that debris drops, it crosses the sensor of that detector and the detector activates. So
Yeah.
the detector doesn't know the difference between smoke and dust. And so when that gets tripped, they activate. And that's why anytime you have construction or you're doing construction in the house, the contractors are supposed to cover them or temporarily take them down and put them back up, because if you don't, they're going to collect with dust and then they're going to go off when you don't want them to.
Yeah.
And it's going to reduce their lifespan. They're only good for 10 years. The manufacturer says they need to be replaced after 10 years. And so if they're chronically dirty and they're, not being cleaned and maintained, they're not going to last to 10 years. They're going to give you problems. They're not going to work the way that they're supposed to in the event that you have a fire or carbon monoxide leak. So yes, I recommend annually cleaning them. It's a service that I do. So on an annual basis, I'll go out to people's homes, change the batteries, test them, clean them, make sure that they all are working properly, that they all communicate that the way that they're supposed to. Homeowners that want to do it themselves, I say you can take it, but you kind of have to start it early. If it's a heavy accumulation, this really won't work that well, but you can take the bristle end of a vacuum cleaner and just kind of lightly go around the detector as an annual homeowner maintenance for them. But if it's been years or you just had a construction project on and you didn't have them covered or anything like that, when I do it, I take them down and I use compressed air. So I spray them out with compressed air, take the batteries out. I clear each detector that has a battery has a capacitor in it. And so I clear that capacitor and I put in a new battery. And then as long as they're less than 10 years old, I'll put it back. But if it's over 10 years old, they really need to be replaced.
Yeah.
My question is, like, with these smoke detectors, they're also O2 sensors, correct?
Carbon monoxide.
Carbon monoxide, yeah. So you've got both of them. Now, when I go to the store, are they all like that, or are they?
So some of them are smoke only for hardwired ones that we're talking, or I should say ceiling mounted detectors. You can either get a smoke detector only, or they do sell them in combination. So it's smoke or CO.
Okay.
And
how do I know which one I have?
How do you know which one you have is a really good question. And it kind of depends on the manufacturer, but typically if you look at your smoke detectors, there's a little grate, kind of like a vent on the outside of it. If there's only one little vent, it's typically an indicator that it's only a smoke detector.
Okay.
If you have two of those vents, one on each side of the detector, that's a good indication that it's
Or
a
you can do
combination.
that.
So one vent is for CO, one vent is for smoke.
Would you rate me a good person on this? I have the ring and it
Yeah.
tells me everything about my smoke detectors except it
So what happens
Yeah,
if they're
it says battery is low.
what happens
on two
if
of
the
them.
smoke detector is yellow? Then
That
that's
is-
past the 10 years, I'm
that is-
assuming.
that is a
Right?
certain indicator that is past 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So-
learned the hard way about the dust thing. That's why I brought it up, because
Yeah.
I was fresh out of hip surgery. So I was barely mobile.
Oh wow.
Rich went back to work his first day back to work, from babysitting me, and then the thing was going off. The smoke detector was going off. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So it was me and the dog. So I got on my crutches and crutched down 3 flights of stairs with the dogs and threw them in my car, and we pulled out into the street, and I called 911. Like, I didn't know what to do, because I'm like, if there really is a fire, like,
I've had to break into 2 neighbors' houses because they're either on vacation or some situation and their alarms are going off. And I'll call, like people, like I don't know why people like they call me and they're like, well, this is what's going on. They're like, well, can you get in? Well, you don't give me a key.
Right.
Well, I mean, I got skills so I can get in.
Do you like the Ring smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors?
I don't have a lot of experience with those. I typically use Al-Qaeda product. That's just that I know the best and have the most experience with. And, they're a long-standing company that's produces the most amount of smoke and carbon monoxide detectors for years. Their customer service is outstanding.
Are they smart? Are they smart?
You can get smart ones. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, they have wireless ones too. So homes that were built pre-1984 didn't have to have hardwired smoke detectors. And then really anything between 1984 and early 2000s, depending on what county you were in, and when they adopted the code, you had to have smoke detectors just in like the main hallways. And then after 04, then you started to have them in the bedrooms. And so people that had a house between 84 and 2000 that want additional smoke detectors in their house, it's a very expensive process to, hire an electrician, run new wires and things like that. I can put in wireless detectors that will link to the hardwired system. So say you only 2-story house, you only have 3 detectors, one on the top floor outside of the bedrooms, main floor and basement. Those are the only 3. And you want them in your bedrooms because you have kids and they all have chargers and they sleep with them, and they buy them, old chargers. And
you must see that a lot, because on the opposite end of the other area you work at, you also do help out with fire.
Yeah, so I'm a full-time career fireman.
So how often do you run into like I started from a cell phone?
I mean, it happens, and room and contents fires are a big reason for fires to start. Is they'll start in a bedroom, and the majority of the time it's either electric in nature or
candles smoking.
Yeah, candles smoking, a kid playing with matches or lighters. And so another reason, what do you say?
Nothing.
Friction, static electricity. There's a gas can in there, and then it just.
Hi, Tim Santos.
Mr. Santos.
Where do you even see that that's Tim?
Yeah, well, because it shows up. I'm watching the show on my phone while we're
Hi,
talking.
Facebook user Tim Santos.
But
people tell me all the time, like, no, my detectors don't expire because I have hardwired detectors, or I just put in a new battery. Like, I'm good for another year. And the reason that detectors expire, it's the sensor inside of the detector is what goes bad. And so the manufacturer says after 10 years, the sensor is no longer reliable to detect smoke or CO properly in the event of an emergency. So,
hi, Mary Ship.
So you can go to people's houses and assess their systems, make sure that they have them. What about for new purchases, like house purchases and stuff? Do you have a service that you offer, like to do? Maybe it's something we could gift new homeowners.
Yeah, so absolutely, and that's new homeowners is what I find is they are often frustrated when they have to call me because they had just purchased this home, they had a home inspection, and they find out that their smoke detectors don't work. And so I had a woman call me recently who said she just had a kitchen fire. It was more of like a massively burnt food situation than a true kitchen fire. But the whole first floor was charged with smoke. None of the smoke detectors went off. And she called me, and I go out there and I look, and 3 of the 5 detectors in her home were not connected to they were hardwired detectors. They weren't connected. There was no battery in them. It was literally a piece of plastic stuck on the ceiling. And so She was really upset, obviously, because she had just purchased this house and
Home inspector.
assumed that, right, and assumed that her detectors
That's
worked.
crazy.
So I'm going
So
to be honest with you guys. I have like the situation that when I cook, sometimes it gets a little smoky because like you know,
It happens.
and I do take down my detector when I smoke because my dog does not like the noise.
That's Cajun cooking.
That's
Blackened.
Cajun. It's
Yeah.
blackens. Yeah, my kids vouch for me here that I am a good cook. But
that's why Rich does all of our cooking.
Yeah, I mean, but sometimes it gets smoky,
And
you
my
know.
cooking.
And I take that one down just until like I've cleared out.
So there are detectors that are less sensitive to
See?
cooking
Madison
smoke,
less sensitive just because my cooking is so good.
and the newer detectors have a hush feature. So if you do burn
I have
something,
new ones. I redid my whole house last year, and I got all because I'm hardwired.
Mhm.
I got all brand new detectors. So, like, you're gonna have to.
What
come
is
tell me what I
the
have.
average fee that you charge to people to come out and assess the situation?
So most of it I can do over the phone. Most I would say 9 times out of 10, it doesn't require me to go to the house and determine if the detectors are outdated, faulty, just from simple questions. Or in some cases, I'll ask them to send me a picture, and I can usually tell just by looking if it's past 10 years.
So
Can
if they send you a picture and it's definitely not safe, do you then give them like your contact information at the fire department then? And just be like, hey, just so you know, and probably
I'm on call
like,
to say.
No,
I do have a serious question.
Yeah.
Question. So hypothetically, if somebody's house was hardwired, and this is just a question for a friend,
okay.
if somebody's house was hardwired when they moved into the house, and then if the smoke detector had to be replaced, and so they replaced it with a non-hardwired one and just
Mhm.
shoved it in the hole,
Mhm.
is that something that you can fix? Asking for somebody I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. It is something that can be fixed. And when people, so it's,
Can those be hardwired?
can what be?
Can they become hardwired?
a non-hardwire then
No.
become
Non-hardwired
one?
No,
one?
you would do, so if there was a spot for
Uh-huh.
where it should have been a hardwired and now it's a not hardwired detector,
Mm-hmm.
you
What?
could just put in
I
a
know.
new hardwired detector.
Uh-huh.
Well, I
Okay,
guess
Mary, we're
Eric,
gonna
you've
have
got
to
a lot
have-
of work to do
yeah.
because everybody has questions
Okay,
for
but
you.
no,
What
Mary
does
works
Mary
for
say?
me. Are you
Yeah.
trying to get us? We're caught up,
What is
Mary,
it
but we
she
don't
say?
need to
She's
work.
saying that what's the best option for an old home that does not have detectors at
Your
all?
best option is to
Or
call
Eric, why
him.
don't
Yeah,
you give
your best
everybody
option
your
is to
phone
call
number
me.
and
Give your-
email, and Kent
how
will
do-
put it on the screen
how
so
do you get-
people
how
can
do-
contact
Okay.
you after the show. You'll be a very busy man.
Yeah,
So you,
So-
have to
Good.
come to the co-host house first.
Yes.
absolutely.
Okay.
I will. And that's like
Like
the biggest
6
thing for me is education for people. Because
Where's,
people
do you have a
don't,
card on you so he
Yeah.
can type it in?
oh yeah.
And then while he's getting that, so I know that Joe did a presentation at a networking group that we were all part of.
Okay.
And he let everybody kind of put on some of the PPE like gear and stuff.
Yes.
So you guys as the employer provide that to your staff. Are you legally obligated, or you just do it, or you don't know?
We are IICRC certified, so biohazard, we have to have these things on. So we have to protect the staff. I don't want crazy things happening
Thank
to
you.
them. Like, I mean, we walk into some crazy stuff, whether it be a chemical spill. We are certified for biohazard, which is also could be a meth lab, crime scene cleanups, smoke from the fire, water with bacteria. You know, what if, let's just say, it's so important that people understand that when you're going into like a water, if it's contaminated, what if you have a little lesion on the bottom of your foot? That can cause an infection throughout your whole entire body.
Every time I am next to you talking this stuff, I get anxiety. Seriously.
So, I mean, but like, you know, when you're dealing with trauma, I mean, whether we don't know what kind of a situation it might be, we have to know what the going on with the detectives. We don't want DNA spread. What are we looking for? Is there things that we have to keep our eye out for, but we need to be protected? There could be diseases.
A lot of DNA.
A lot of DNA.
Yeah.
A lot of DNA.
But so
But yeah,
since you kind of ride solo normally
Yes.
in your vehicle.
I do. Rhonda the Honda.
Yes. So what do you and Rhonda do to ensure that you're making it back to
Oh, I pity
the
I
office.
pity the person who tries to mess with me, honestly. But
Like, do you carry like safety equipment with you? Like,
I used to have one of those things I need to get down in her staff apparently. But I did give it to mine that I gave to my niece. So I have to get more of those. But man,
I mean, like, does Joe and Carrie know like where
Oh,
you're
yeah, my
at, or
schedule,
Mary like
I
knows,
do.
or
I put we have a CRM system, but what I like to do is have them on my we have a thing called Time Tree. So they know my meetings. I write notes in there too, on the moment notes. So this way they know if I'm in a meeting, this is what situation is. We text often. Like
right.
I don't need a relationship in life because I've got Joe and Carrie and
Right.
Josh. Like literally, we talk. and
Apparently,
text.
I'm out.
Okay, trust me, you don't want part of this text, but we talk very, very constantly. We're very in tune with each other. So if I were to feel uncomfortable about going into a situation, Joe's going to be there in a second because Joe's just that guy.
Right.
Josh will be there in a second. He's not going to let anything happen. Carrie will call police from her desk and be like, I'm not going either. My only situation, I guess, and it's not so much safety that I run into. It's like if I go up to a job site or something like that, and I'm the look of like, okay, you bringing somebody? I'm like, why? You can't handle your job? Let's talk shop. Let's go.
Right.
But see, I don't know. Maybe I should be more aware of my safety when I'm out because I network a lot. I'm always at events, and I'm always the one that leaves first from events because I know it happens after a certain amount of hours. But I walk alone, and I really should have paid attention to that because I'm constantly harping to my daughter. So my daughter works in Rockford. She goes to St. Anthony School of Nursing, but she's also works in the NICU over at one of the level 4 trauma. Well, Rockford is not a safe place, right?
Right.
So there's been situations where they have those things tied. Those
Rockford is a lovely town.
It is
I
a
can't
lovely.
be in the same room with somebody who would say something like that.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's a lovely town.
It's fantastic. On the
Rockford
right
is
part.
wonderful.
It's an up and coming
It's
neighborhood.
up and coming area. It's a wonderful area.
It will be once they get the interchange right.
But so,
I have a disclosure.
Anyways, so go on. This happens everywhere. It's happening in Schaumburg. It's happening in Chicago. People are putting things on Target cars, like whether it be a zip tie or something on your windshield that you have to stop and pick up. So I'm constantly telling my kid, be aware of your surrounding. You're going, she works till late at night. Now once she gets high, she finishes school in May, she'll be doing the night shift as a NICU nurse. Middle of the night, like that scares me. So I'm constantly be aware of your surroundings.
Situational awareness.
Well, and I find that I'm not really situational. I mean,
we're all guilty of it.
I am. I'm so well. Even the whole locking of the car when you're writing notes, I don't do that, and I need to do that.
Yeah, I do. Well, because like I have like an abnormal fear of being kidnapped because of my height.
Oh, I would fear
so,
that person that
like,
would kidnap me. They would throw me out of the car because I would annoy them so much.
But so for example, when I've traveled out of state in my previous life with companies that I worked for, Rich has been none too pleased with me because we would have to go to Dubuque, Iowa
for. Where I'm from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So we'd have to go for.
I did. Yeah. Golden Eagles, class of '99.
If I would have stayed there, I would have gone to senior high school.
Okay.
I lived right over by Florida.
Oh, all right.
I spent
my childhood there.
We would go like by where they would set us up kind of close where that Diamond Joe casino is or whatever. And then we would do like our annual training because our hub for the company I worked for at the time was out of Dubuque. And so all of the branches from surrounding states came there. But it's just like these people would party like a lot longer than I would party. And it was also like my first job where I traveled like that. So I was very unsure about
what
the
you
whole
do and what you don't
do, the proper protocols. So like I would walk back to my hotel.
Nice one, Rocco.
What about your music, Rocco?
I would walk.
I can't see it.
I would walk back to like my hotel and everything by myself at like 2 a.m. in a town that like I don't know anyone. Like, and I don't know if this is like Dubuque is safe or not at that time. I mean, nothing happened, but
Dubuque is lovely.
Yeah, no, it was fine. Like they had a lot of like, I liked it.
I gotta tap out of this show.
But I'm just saying, like walking in an uncharted area, like I'm not familiar with the townies there. And I'm just walking at 2 o'clock in the morning after having cocktails by myself back to my hotel room,
I do
which is
all the time
obvious
when
that I'm by
when I
myself.
travel. So I travel a lot for work.
I'm glad. I
You know,
didn't
we'll
see
go
you on
have corporate
Dateline.
conferences. We have sales summits. You know, I have family that's out of state. I traveled a lot last year.
Right.
Self-defense training.
I need to. Well, why we should do that? It's like I'll get a guy and let's do self-defense training online here. Like he can teach us some things. What about that?
Okay.
Anything goes with Bremer and Jones.
I mean, if I can kick Ken's ass.
That I will make it happen.
We're
I'm
gonna
make
put
that
Kent
happen.
in-
Kevin,
I'm gonna
calling
put
you.
Kent in a chokehold.
We're gonna
I love
put
it.
Kent in
Can
one
I
of those
kick-
like
can I-
dog training
yeah.
suits,
Do I get
and
to
then
kick
Don's
him in the balls?
just gonna attack him.
And can I get Alice's
Yikes.
permission to
Sign
kick
the
him in
waiver
the
Alice,
balls?
sorry about that. You're worried about saying
I
rappers
mean,
bad.
seriously, that I don't have a problem with that. You just can't say anything about a town.
But I'm just saying, like the
Yeah.
things like that I've done by myself, like is not the best. But I mean,
Yeah, that
obviously,
was
I'm
my-
still here,
Yeah.
so it's not like we're trying to do this show to make people afraid to leave their house, kind of thing. It's just we're trying to make sure that you're,
Just be aware of your
Aware.
surroundings. Yeah.
Situational.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
I mean, when I would travel, there was just things, and you just don't.
Like, how did I get back to the hotel when we were in Vegas?
But you had a buddy though to walk with you, so that was like
Buddy systems are
that was
important.
different. You
Yeah.
had a buddy.
Christine, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
I just asked a simple question.
But it's just
Syphilis.
but it's just like when we went to the QuickBooks Connect conference, me and my team, we went to Vegas like a month and a half ago. I was trying to get us rooms all kind of on the same floor and together, but unfortunately I was only able to get my staff on the same floor. They were like 2 doors apart from each other. So that was fine. But then I had to go like 30 floors higher than them in a different elevator bay by myself. I mean, but thankfully one of my friends wound up coming out to Vegas and she stayed with me, so it's fine. I had a buddy then. But
you didn't answer your phone.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what Facebook said. So but yeah, so we kind of like, it made me kind of uncomfortable, but from like a mama bear aspect, because my
Mhm.
team had never been to Vegas and they're a little bit younger than me. Like one of my staff members, I mean, she's younger than my oldest son, so it's kind of like,
Yeah, I would mama bear that.
you
all
know,
over.
like, and I
Someone-
know
yeah.
like she probably got annoyed at some point with me being so like protective, but you know. Oh yeah, and then also when the green room, we were talking about the dryer vent cleaning. So how often are you supposed to do that? It seems like Kent is very interested in this option in
Well,
service.
before you
Yeah.
answer that, I
Yes.
want to be very clear, and you can probably attest to this. I literally in September was sitting at somebody's house. We smelled smoke. We couldn't figure out where we smelled the smoke from. They had the dryer going.
Mhm.
There was a fire in their
Inside the
dryer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were the clothes on fire?
Everything was on fire.
Oh,
They had cleaned their dryer vent,
trap.
their lint
Yeah.
trap,
Yeah.
but had never had their dryer vents cleaned.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's scary. Someone
And yeah,
I gotta put you in front of my townhouse association because some of like the 2-bedroom units, they go like all through the attics, like they're squirrely. Like I don't know how
Yeah.
long they are. They're crazy. Thank God
And-
mine's not like that.
And all like how the ductwork is ran makes a big factor in, you know, the efficiency of your dryer, how often lint's going to be built up. So to quickly answer your question, once a year as a residential service, as a residential maintenance, they should be done at least
You got
once a
anything
year.
On your calendar for 5 today?
But
can you
No.
explain though, honestly, in these Facebook groups, there are people who are
Oh,
like
yeah.
Dryer vent cleaners.
Dryer
all over the
vent-
place.
there's a lot of
cleaner for
scammers
$2.99.
out there.
And so I may have fell to one of those a couple of years ago. I had my vents cleaned for like $499 or something.
Your air vents.
My air vents,
Okay.
yeah.
So okay.
And then well they were like cleaning your ducts is what they were saying, what they were doing for $499. And then I had a friend who had a service and was like, no, it's more like $1,400. So what is an average cost to do that? And should people be wary of these Facebook groups?
People should definitely be wary of the Facebook groups. If
Oh, too soon.
What?
Too soon. Too soon.
Well, we'll just leave that alone.
We're not even gonna say that.
And just so you know, I was on the schedule for like 4 months for that one.
Oh, yeah.
That never happened.
Oh, don't even get me
so
started.
for dryer vent cleaning, there are some some variables on pricing on how it's done, specifically to dryer vent cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where, like, is it a first floor vent? Is it up on the second floor? Does it vent out through the roof? So all of those factors, will kind of dictate the price. So if you have a 2-story home with a dryer up on your second floor because it's super nice and convenient, well, you're venting it most likely out of your roof versus, out the side of your house, down lower, because you're not going to push the hot air down to go out.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone has to go up on a roof, it's going to be more expensive because it's a lot more dangerous. And
So
there's
an
more
average on a
into
first floor.
around between 120 and 150,
And that's just for the dryer vent, right?
just for the dryer vent.
And what about when people buy those, and again, asking for a friend, I don't have one, where they put that thing through the vent and
Yeah. Yep.
the
So
brush?
that can be fine. I mean, it can be done, DIY, but there are things that DIYers need to understand too. Is
I make a lot of money off of DIY.
yeah,
So
and it's
please
like,
stop.
like when we're going, it's
Fix
like
your plumbing, please
people
do.
ask like, oh, can I do this myself? And it's like, sure, you can. And then here's my phone number, because
You're gonna need
you're
it.
going to put in equipment through ductwork that's not meant to be used with a brush.
Mhm.
And because there's ductwork that's that light tinfoil flexible stuff that's not really supposed to be used, and it's certainly not supposed to be used in a concealed wall. You can use it as a transition from the dryer to the actual venting stack, but the tinfoil stuff is not recommended. It should be a semi-rigid or a straight pipe to do that. Because
So how much is it for you in an average for air duct cleaning?
I only do dryer
You only
vents.
do dryer
I know
vents.
somebody who
Yeah.
does air duct cleaning though.
One thing I did learn was, so my house is about, I think, almost 20 years old.
Mhm.
Okay. So we moved in like a couple years after we moved in, like my kids and whatever, their allergies were acting up. So I was like, we need to get the vents cleaned. So we had a company come out to do the vents, and we discovered that the previous homeowner who had lived in there for probably approximately 13 years had never done the dryer or the vents before. And the reason why we figured it out is because I guess they make little holes in the thing and then they clean it and then they plug it. So if you don't have the little plugs in your venting and stuff in the basement, then it's never been done ever, most likely.
Unless
I mean,
it's a brand new
I'm not.
system.
Yeah, I guess, but like,
Yeah.
so
That
like,
would be a good.
it was like,
indicator.
Oh, that's I just
so we
learned something
discovered
new.
that, and then they pushed, because our dryer vent goes out the side of our house because it's a ranch and it's first floor. And when they pushed all that stuff out, like it looked like we like murdered a bunny or something back there. I don't know. It was like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah. So if you're having to cycle clothes like more than one time, a load of towels or a heavy load of laundry, and it's not drying in one cycle, that's a pretty good indicator that you have some sort of blockage.
Yeah.
And it could be as close as directly behind the dryer, because you may have an 8-foot section of that slinky tinfoil transition duct that, for one, shouldn't be that long, and it's kinked and bent, and so the airflow directly from your dryer isn't having to work so hard, and it's creating back pressure in your dryer.
So what happens, when your dryer's running and you pull the lint thing up and then it like sucks all the lint? Where does it go? Like into that thing you're talking about, like the vent?
Have
Like,
you ever
So that'll
opened up the bottom of your dryer? Like you're supposed to clean that too.
what's in there?
What?
Oh,
What
so-
bottom of what dryer?
additional like.
So where does it go? Does it go into the vent pipe that you're saying that you clean?
With
Yeah.
the other side.
That's
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you?
That happens a lot.
Come
I
to
should stop
clean
opening the
people's
vent thing.
dryer vents, right? So when you clean their dryer vents, so the part. So like I have a front load dryer.
Yep.
I pull out the thing to clean out the lint trap. Do you also clean where that goes?
Yes. That, I mean,
that's filled
it's
with
the
lint all
right
the
thing
time.
to do. It is often an additional service for some dryer vent cleanings. It's a delinting. So you're cleaning.
Does that come in belly button size?
you're-
Sorry, couldn't help it.
You're cleaning
do
more
do
than.
you delint when you
Yeah.
do that?
That's
Yeah,
the Joe and
I
me.
will
Just
delay
bringing the
that.
Joe out.
You and I are going to do a lot of business.
So
together.
now
Yeah.
that we kind of
Awesome.
made all of these potential homeowners all like in the know now of all the things to watch out for, what's something that you're doing this Sunday that would also potentially
Oh.
be people that would be
Madison, listen up.
Kind of in the
a
market.
Great question. Thank you. So this Sunday, I believe it's January 29th at the Holiday Inn in Crystal Lake, they are having the Star 105.5 Bridal Expo from 11 to 3. And the Bremer team is the real estate team that will be there because people are like, why are you going to a wedding thing? Well, if you have a house and he has a house, you need to make it our house. So
Or they're getting engaged and they're looking to buy a house.
right. And they're looking to buy a house, or you parents want you out of your house and
That's
you're going to
it.
get married and you're not moving back into their house. They need a house.
This is called pre-divorce planning.
That's right. We got to build you guys some equity.
Yes.
So we have some amazing giveaways. We are giving away a engagement package, engagement photo session from Kay Adams Photo.
Question: what if I'm not seriously in a serious relationship yet, not engaged, but maybe one day it might happen? Can I win this?
I mean, if you fill out the raffle. And then we're giving away another engagement photo session from 400 feet and below, which can be upgraded to a wedding package. We're giving away a Google Nest system with a camera and the alarm pad and all of that. And then my favorite thing is we made a cake out of cash. So it's a wedding cake made out of $250 in cash that you can get.
I could
and
be security.
you could be security. We're going to need it. And then we're giving away the cutest little giveaways. We have Tic Tacs that we bought, and we have labels on them that says you are meant to be a homeowner. Isn't that cute?
Cute.
Isn't that cute?
Seriously, but what time is it at?
Shut up.
Because I'm going to be at the Holiday Inn the night before. I'm actually got a room because it's going to be a late night at
Oh,
1
I
o'clock.
have a room too.
Oh, we can do the pool, hot tub
Yes.
afterwards. Anyway, so
All
what
right.
time does it start?
You had me before you said hot tub.
This is a family.
All right. It starts Sunday morning from 11 to 3. You should have your daughter meet you there. And
She
come
is.
through. They're
We've already
giving
discussed
away
this.
honeymoons and lots of fun stuff. There'll be a fashion show. It's going to be really fun.
Allison, Ashley.
Yeah, that's what I hear. They're going to stop by and see it. Oh, and we have a contest going that if you come to our booth and you take a photo with somebody from my team, that you
Aw.
get an extra entry into
You
the
get an extra
hour,
tic-tac.
every hour
You meant to
raffle.
be.
It was
Should I
meant
wear-
It's meant to be. Isn't that cute?
Yeah,
you were meant
sketchy.
to
I mean,
be a
Look at
homeowner.
how cute they are.
Should I wear
Super
like
cute.
my
Even
wedding
with the
dress to
bra.
the event?
Yes,
That's
I
my
think you
daughter.
should. Please.
I'll have to find it. It's somewhere in my basement.
Come on out Sunday. And I know that the Holiday Inn is going to have hors d'oeuvres and drinks. And I believe there's a bar, a cash bar.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
come see us in the beginning.
I think because wait, Star 105.5. They
That's
You
okay.
said
Keep
you were-
So it's a
plugging
pretty
the
Star
big,
other-
it's a Star 105.5.
Yeah.
That's
that's
okay.
what-
So it's a pretty
Why
big
don't you go ahead and
function.
keep plugging the other radio?
I'm not.
Oh,
She
well,
did.
I just that's like the main sponsor of it.
She
though. I
did it,
mean,
not me.
So
you have
Joe
to.
Cicero, do you want to chime
Joe,
in?
yeah, I got you, Joe. I got you, Joe.
And you,
Tina?
That was
You're
Christine,
welcome.
not me.
You're welcome.
So when you had mentioned earlier about the forewarn, how many times a year do you guys kind of decline going on? Do you guys ever decline going on a listing
No,
due to
we
that?
won't decline it, but we will buddy up.
Okay,
So
I
if
decline meetings.
I will buddy up with somebody if I forewarn them and they have forcible restraint or battery. It's definitely not something that I will go to by myself or send one of my female agents to.
It's okay to say no to meetings though. So I run into this situation where like I'll meet somebody at a networking thing. You know, we have a email communication. I like to meet in a public area. Let's meet in a public area. All of a sudden you'll be like, okay, well, come over to my house and we're gonna do no. Nope.
I don't think I've ever
Or-
been invited to someone's house after a
you
networking.
just
Oh,
went
yeah.
to somebody's
That was
house.
a potential client. I
In
didn't meet them
their
at a
bedroom.
networking. They were a stranger.
Yeah.
I didn't meet them at a networking
Oh,
event.
they're like,
That
oh,
was
but
a stranger
we'll take
in your bedroom. Stephanie. What are you talking about?
So I'm
I'm just
innocent here. But no, I like everyone wants to get together and they're like, oh, let's meet at my place and then we'll go from there. And like, I'm not okay with that. I like to drive myself. I like to be in control of the situation. And I've actually gotten calls like, or people stop me when I'm in Rhonda, the Honda. Gotta plug her. They're like, well, do you come out to the house? I look at them, I'm like, no, but I'll send Josh.
But yeah, when I worked in construction and the clients would call and they'd be like, well, are you coming? And I'm like, you couldn't afford the rate to have me on job.
Yeah.
Like my rate is way higher than having these field guys on job. So you couldn't afford my rate to be on job for the day is what I would tell them all the time.
That's it, very funny. Actually, that's very funny.
That is.
I'm going to use that against you. Lots of different places. So yeah. So no, I mean, I think it's important. I wouldn't turn down an appointment, but I do think that more companies, more in-house service companies should be using a system like Forewarn. I think it's
So do you
huge.
have to be a realtor to have this?
No,
app?
you can pay for it yourself.
How much does this cost?
I don't know. I think it's actually like $150 a year. I'm assuming.
I think I might get that.
But it's
just for my dating life.
I mean, that's a
Just
good point too. But it is something that I strongly suggest. If somebody's going to somebody's house, you don't know who these people are, you should forewarn them and make sure that it warns you. Like I said, it gives you their cars. So for instance, if I'm meeting somebody in a house and it gives me, because people could say somebody, who they are and they're not really that person, it'll tell you their cars. So if if you don't recognize one of those cars that you're meeting.
So now that just brings
a phone number.
It's all for a phone number. And if you don't have a phone number, you can do it by their name. So you can see like who it is. You can look up anybody and it tells you their age, their addresses, all of their phone numbers. They have multiple addresses, tells you any court filings against them. And it's colored. So like if there's nothing wrong, it's gray. If there's something wrong, but it's not bad, it's green. If there's something bad that you're concerned about, it goes to a yellow. And there are sometimes that it's red. Like,
okay, so
can I see a red?
So I'm assuming that all the houses that you send me to that are vacant, we just have a lockbox. You've checked them all.
Yes.
Okay.
Especially if you have my lockbox on it, they're safe. For
okay.
You to
I'm just
enter.
making sure because I go to a lot of those lockboxes.
I mean, like something that we do,
Which is
I don't
with
like
the new law.
Yeah. So Ann asked, what's with that new law with 10-year-old smoke detectors and batteries and things?
So the new law for Illinois is effective January 1st, 2023. If you're replacing an outdated smoke detector in a home that does not have hardwired detectors currently in it, it has to be replaced with a 10-year sealed battery detector. So there's no batteries to change. It's a lithium battery that's sealed directly into the detector. And that is required by law. Once that current detector in the house reaches the 10-year point, when it has to be replaced, then putting in a 10-year sealed battery is what's required. If you have hardwired detectors, you don't have to put in a hardwired 10-year sealed battery, which you can, and I do that a lot because it just makes sense for a lot of people. They want to do 10 years, set it and forget it outside of, keeping them clean. You don't have to worry about the battery changes, and they're awesome. But yeah, that new law only applies to homes with not hardwired detectors.
I hope that answered your question, Ann, because it answered mine. I didn't even have the question.
I have a question about a service you have. Do you also show people how to have their house ready for safety fires, fire extinguishers? Do you suggest how many fire extinguishers, those blankets and those foam sprays?
Or those ladders coming from the windows?
Yes.
Do you get those?
Yeah, so I do specifically fire extinguishers. I haven't really got into the blankets. I know what you're talking about. I've never used one or tried one to see how it actually works, so I won't really
I'm not lighting myself
until,
on fire for you to practice.
until I saw how easy it is to deploy and how
what about the foam spray over a kitchen fire?
It's a mess.
like you see on TV? I guess they sell them at Home Depot and stuff.
They sell them at Home Depot and stuff.
Get some baking soda.
Yeah,
I think they're UL rated.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing to look at is if whatever fire safety device that we're going to put in your house is that it's been tested by UL.
Mm-hmm.
So the extinguishers that I put into homes are ABC fire extinguishers. And when I put them in for people, I mount them in a mutually agreed place that makes sense where it's not going to be just like in the kitchen.
So you're not in a drawer or in a cabinet. You don't know where they were.
Right.
I just cleaned out my master bathroom closet and found two. And I was like, oh, and they
Did
were
you have
so.
one in
You just
industrious.
recently had that
Wait a
remodeled.
second.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and
Oh,
wait,
no,
wait,
that was
wait.
almost 2 years ago.
And
already.
did you have one in the laundry room?
Yeah, I don't know where it is.
So people tell me all the time.
I don't know
like,
where they are.
I asked them, "Do you have a fire extinguisher in the house?" And they're like, "Yeah."
I literally walked to
And
her
I
house
say,
and told her where
"Well,
she needed
where
to have
is
everything.
it?" They're like, "Oh, under the kitchen sink." I said, "Okay, let's see it." You know, they open up the kitchen sink and they're like, "Oh, I think it's in here somewhere," and it's laying sideways in the back, tucked behind all the cleaning supplies. So if somebody was going to need a fire extinguisher, you know, if you have a small fire in your house and you need to use a fire extinguisher, you need it right now.
Okay, but
Like, you don't want to be looking
so
for it. You don't
can we
want to
teach
be,
people how to use a fire extinguisher?
Yeah.
There's
That would
the
be a
big
whole
thing.
nother
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
But so we're in the last couple minutes of the show, so we like to do what did you learn? So everybody gets to go around the table and say what you learned today on the show. It could be something as it pertains to safety or just a unique fact or something that you personally are going to implement, you know, in your own day to day.
I learned about the software for, you know, being able to track where you're at and
Yeah, is there any way
understand
you
and being
can
able
put
to know who
that
you're meeting
in a
just
text
by a
message
phone
to me?
number.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's pretty
cool.
important. You
That,
know,
I'm gonna get
cool.
that software because I think it's really, really cool. What I've learned today, so much. Obviously, I have to be more self-aware. Yes, that's number one. And I probably need him to figure out what kind of. I have no idea what I have in my house. I just trusted my my general contractor. Fire extinguishers. Come on, Ken. My smoke detectors. I don't know if they're O2. Are they just regular fire? I don't know what they are. So I will be taking a picture and sending them to you
Yeah.
and being like, what do I got? But they go off at 2:00 in the morning.
I would say a lot of like handymen or people that put them in that I've
That's
in my
who did it.
experience,
Was my name. I'm sorry,
They-
Joe, my neighbor, Joe,
Yeah.
not my boss, Joe.
They
but
don't
neighbor
know the
Joe.
codes. They don't know what's required, and just regular smoke detectors are less expensive, and so a lot of times that's what gets put in as hardwired. And
It's a
they'll
good thing you live near me. I'm just saying.
So yeah, most people don't realize they don't have carbon monoxide protection in their house, even though they think they do.
I get really worried because I have my furnace and my
So-
like hot water heaters right there.
So Dawn, what did you learn today on the show?
That I have a very unsafe house.
Oh,
So you have safe business practices with you and your team, but the house.
Safe.
So you're like the
practices.
landscaper
Yeah,
with the
apparently I
deadline. That's
like
what you
my
are.
team more than I like my
Hmm.
kids. So
oh,
I
poor
should really
Sammy.
protect my kids better.
Eli.
And that Eric is coming to my house next week to clean my dryer vents and to change my no longer hardwired smoke detectors back to hardwired
Yes.
smoke detectors.
So
So yeah.
Yeah.
I learned it's in a very expensive time for me to come here today.
Yeah.
That's what I learned.
Gotta be in the know.
I got to be in the know, and now I am going to spend a lot of money.
Here's what I learned today. I'll speak loud so Mike can pick me up. Number one is Christine breaks into her neighbor's house. It's quite obvious. Number two, you need to have your dryer vent cleaned every year. I don't think I ever
And I
have.
think I also, sorry to cut you off, but I think I learned also that a dryer vent cleaning is different than an air duct cleaning.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I learned that.
And that Steph would rather go into a stranger's bedroom instead of someone she met at a mix.
I love it.
yeah, that's true. That's all true.
True.
All right. Super funny.
Kent, I learned that Kent with idle hands is dangerous for
Yes.
show productivity. And
And then apparently I live in a toilet.
and I feel like my level of self-awareness is a little bit higher than some, so that made me feel better.
That is good.
Even though I put myself in crazy situations. But so for the lineup that we have for February, next Friday, we're going to do the love and hate of your industry. So what's something you love about your industry, something you hate, something you wish that there was an actual like standard for your industry that's not a standard. And then we have emergencies. So that could be either a work emergency, a personal emergency. How do you handle, how do you delegate? What happens if you can't go on job? Do you have a backup or do you have to reschedule? And then we have on the 17th, we're going to have Rob from Above Par Construction doing inside jokes. So that
Oh,
show
God.
is going to be not for work appropriate. So be very careful when and how you're watching that episode. But thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. And we will see you next week.